Hello, hello. Welcome back or welcome to the Craftmas Chronicles. It is week 2 already. How has it been an entire week since I last filmed one of these? This is going to be a significantly shorter episode. If you are coming back, welcome back. If this is your first time seeing it, I'm going to put a link up here to the first episode, which was significantly longer than today's will be because I talked about everything I am hand making for Christmas gifts this year, or at least what I hope to be making, because it's a long list, but we're going to get there. Possibly. Watch and see. You know as much as I do at this point. This week I have no finished objects, some works in progress, and only a teeny tiny bit of acquisitions, which I will be adding to for next week's episode because I am acquiring more. It's in the mail. Then we should be done. We should be done with acquisitions, I hope. I do not have any finished objects to share this week, just a couple of acquisitions, and it's mostly all works in progress at this point. As one would expect, we are only 2 weeks into it, and I started out with the hefty projects, if you will. I also have a little bit of a confession. If you watched the first episode, you know I was gift knitting, or I am going to be gift knitting sweaters for my family. So that's 4 sweaters. I have a husband and 3 children. So 4 sweaters. I was going to be the only one not getting a Christmas sweater, which is just fine. I was going to knit one for myself in the new year and chill a little. However, I did apply for a test knit, thinking there was 0 chance I would get it. But I did. And it needs to be done approximately Christmas time-ish. That yarn is in the mail. Should get here next week. So I am desperately trying to finish up some of the other stuff so that I can sneak that into. It's bulky weight, guys. Before everybody starts telling me I'm absolutely insane, it's bulky weight. I should be able to get it done in a week. And honestly, a lot of these things coming up, I can't work on during the day with kids home because they're supposed to be surprises. This one, once I finish my husband's sweater, which everybody knows about, I will be able to work on my sweater because it's not a surprise for anybody. And that will be my daytime project. And then most everything else will be evening and weekend projects when children are out of the house. My husband had 4 days off for Veterans Day, so he was around to watch kids this weekend. The plan was to get a lot more done than I did, partially because the kids were not able to get out of the house nearly as much as we anticipated. We have the littlest one has been under the weather for a hot minute. And then on Monday, she woke up and I was like, something's not quite right. And this has gotten worse instead of better. So my husband was able to take her into the urgent care, and she's on antibiotics and steroids, and she's 3. So it's a really fun task to get her to take her medication. It's not. It's really not. The trick is whipped cream. For all the moms wondering, we are mixing the bitter medicine in with pudding, and each bite she takes gets topped with a copious amount of whipped cream. So we're not thriving, but we are surviving it. I think. She's on the mend. Everything is looking better. Amazing what some antibiotics will do for you. Amoxicillin for the win, which is fine. So we are through the worst of that. And fortunately, the bigger 2 have not gotten anything beyond the average cold that goes around school. Anyways, due to illness and cold weather, the kids were in the house a lot more than anticipated this weekend. So we're hoping for a full mend to where they can go to the zoo this weekend and get entirely out of the house, and I can work on a lot of stuff in quiet. My husband is a saint for taking them out of the house for me to work on all of this. He is also aware that he's not great at handcrafting Christmas gifts, so he's better off taking the children than trying to knit a sweater. So we're going to set this down, and we're going to get into the works in progress because I have made a good bit of progress on some stuff. I would usually separate this out into chapters. There's not a lot to talk about this time. We've got one sewing work in progress, and one knitting work in progress. That's all. That is it. We have been monogamously knitting. Back it up. I am a multi-knitting person. I usually have 5 different projects depending on where I'm at, like one in my bag, one in my car, one at home, one here. I'm usually working on multiple things at a time just because that's how my brain operates. However, lately I have been knitting one project at a time since 2 weeks before Halloween, a week before, maybe 2 weeks. I don't know when I started like really buckling down and taking my socks seriously, but I finished my socks 1st October, and then I went directly into working on my finest kind sweater. Um, and that's what we're going to talk about next, because she's looking, I guess it's he, it's for my husband. We are in business, y'all. This is the entire back. So I started this, I cast on Halloween, and I am making a size E, which is like a 52.5-inch chest. And I had to add length because my husband is 6'1". So it's supposed to be 15 inches of body. I knit to 17.5, 18, somewhere in there. I did do kind of a little mild steam block on this and had him try it on. It is looking good because I am under on stitches per inch by like 1. So we went up a little bit in size, and it is going to be down a little in size by the time it's done. It's missing a couple inches basically around, because by the time you're off by 1 stitch, but it's 200 stitches around, 1 stitch per like 18 in the pattern, 16. When you're getting 17 stitches per inch instead of 16, it does make a difference over time. Anyway, okay, so I cast this on Halloween, and I only did probably the cast on, and there's 2 little knit rows at the bottom, which are what curls up, and that is all I did that day. I don't know if I even finished all of that, and I have no idea anymore what the safety pin is for, but I'm gonna take it out. Hope I don't need it. It's fine. So I cast on Halloween. My goal, if you watched last week, was to split first sleeves by Friday, so a week after Halloween. And I did do 17 or 18 inches, I think right at 18 inches between the hem and the underarm. It calls for less than that, but my husband is tall, so we did extra. And I ended up, due to children illness and being up all night with her, which is fine, but does not make for being able to. A lot of my knitting time is in the evening, where I can just sit down and zone out and knit. Unfortunately, with the youngest not feeling well, she was in my bed a lot, which means I wasn't staying up late knitting, and I missed out on a lot of knitting time. So I missed my goal by a smidge. I ended up splitting first sleeves on Sunday, not Friday, but still pretty good. Still pretty good. And then I managed to get through the entire back side, and I need to find a yarn needle so that I can move these onto scrap yarn. They've just been sitting on the other end of my cable, which is very heavy after a while. Anyway, I need to go find a yarn needle and put these actually on hold rather than just leaving them floating. But I did finish the entire backside of the sweater, and it is bound off at the neck. I've got my shoulders just chilling, and I finished that probably yesterday morning. So Tuesday morning, I'm filming this on Wednesday. It'll go live on Friday. But as of Tuesday morning, I finished the back side. We are on to the front side. I'm realizing that the reason it looks different is because that's where I switched to back and forth rather than in the round. And that is why I thought my yarn was different colors, guys. And I panicked a little bit because it looked really different at the turn here. But it is actually just because it's where I go from working in the round to working flat. So that's fine. I'm sure that will block out. My tension is not that different. And the front side actually looks better than the back side on that front. But yeah, it'll be good. It'll be fine. So we are into the front. I have approximately 20 to 25 rows, I think, until I get to the neck shaping on the front. And then we'll do our left and right shoulders. I am tentatively hoping to be done with the front and have my shoulders put together, body done minus the collar. We'll add the collar with the sleeves. So I'm hoping to be onto collar and sleeves by Friday, which gives me tonight and tomorrow night and a bit of Friday. Friday I do have a 3-hour drive, so that's going to eat into my knitting time a lot, but I think we can get there, and then have the collar and this. This is going to sound crazy because it is less than a week. However, I have done all of this in a week and a half. So realistically, it's not that crazy, right? I'd like to have the whole thing done by Monday. Maybe when my yarn gets here, because I am going to swap to swatching for my sweater and casting on one of the girls' sweaters. I also pick up the yarn for the other girl's sweater this weekend. So I will have all of my stuff here. I have, again, if you watch the first video of this series, you know I'm making 2 of these. This is a size E. I'm making a size A minus some length for my oldest. So that will be fine. That will take way less time. I have, as of when this goes live, we will have 6 weeks until Christmas. I've gotten this done in a week and a half. The girls' sweaters and my sweater are all knit. Like there's no or very minimal purling. So that will give my hands a little bit of a break. Again, first video, I knit weird. The way I tension my yarn when I have to knit and purl. So all of this moss stitch, it hurts my hands eventually. I am starting to feel it a little bit, but not terribly. I took a little while off just to rest my hands, and I worked on some sewing stuff instead, and that helped a lot. But we are going to take a break from moss stitch after this one. I'm hoping to do my sweater in a week, which puts us down to, we're at 6 weeks when this goes live. Sorry, we're gonna brainstorm. We're gonna set this aside. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at on the finest kind sweater. And my goal is to have it done by Monday. I know that sounds wild because I do have 2 sleeves, the front, the collar, the shoulders, everything to go. But this has all been done in a week and a half. So I think it is perhaps not the most outrageous decision I've ever tried to make. So we're going to see, because we're going to set this aside and we're going to do a little bit of brainstorming together, okay? We need the coffee back for this. So we've got 6 weeks until Christmas as of when this video goes live. And that means I have 4 sweaters to knit in 6 weeks, alongside everything else I want to do. But those can take a backseat if they need to. But we want the sweaters done. So my sweater, I hope to do in a week. That gives me 5. The girls' sweaters, I can hypothetically have both done in a week, maybe a week and a half. Give myself a half finger here. I don't know how to do that. So that leaves me 3.5 weeks. This sweater is going to take at least another half week. That's my Monday. So that gives me 3 weeks. 3 weeks. So that's if I do my son's in 2 weeks, which is back to this moss stitch, finest kind, but in a much smaller size. And this one's going to take me 2.5 weeks. That one I can get done in 2. That gives me a whole week spare. My fingers are shaking. I'm living on coffee. This is probably not wise, but that doesn't sound that bad. I think we're going to be okay. I think we're going to be okay. So, mm-hmm. What could go wrong? What could possibly go wrong? 4 sweaters, four and a half sweaters in 6 weeks. It should be okay, I guess. Anyway, yeah. Don't ask me about everything else I'm supposed to be doing outside of that. Okay, now that we're through with that bit of delusion masquerading as confidence, we're going to set this back down and get to the other thing I have been working on, which is silly gooses. Silly geese. Silly geese. I know. I am using the Woolly Petals Silly Goose pattern. I have been batch sewing these. I'm not going to get out. Actually, hold that thought. Okay. I don't want to drag out all of them, but I have been batch sewing. I've got, this is what the body looks like. I wildly underestimated how large 20 inches is for a stuffed animal. This is huge and I'm obsessed. I love it. So I have everything cut. The wings and lines are marked on everything. Did I do it properly on this one? No. And you're actually supposed to stitch the wings on before stitching them together. So this one's going to be like hand stitched at the end. The rest I will do the proper way, I suppose. But I did get all of the bodies marked up. We're going to do safety eyes on there instead of the felt because I have a ton of them. What I didn't realize, because I am an amateur apparently, is that the back of the safety eye can pop off if you just kind of like pull on it, which I did not think was supposed to happen because it's a safety eye, but it will fully just come right back apart. So that's not great. I found TikTok information, told me that I can melt the back. So we have been learning how to melt this, and they're very long, so I may have to go find some like pliers so that I can cut off the end and then melt it rather than trying to melt all of that plastic because I get a little nervous. I have a lot of vices. Pyromania is apparently not one of them. It's probably a good thing in the long run. Other than that, I also have 5 beaks sewn up, which have to get, they're so cute, guys. I bought a giant box of fiber fill. Look at these little beaks. Like, is that not the cutest? She did a really good job on this pattern. I am very impressed. So these have to get stuck on in here and stitched down, which seems fiddly, but I think if I just pin them all, clip them all, I don't pin anything, you guys. This is going to be, it's fine. I'm just going to, oh, yeah, they line up nicely. We're just going to wing it. I'm going to maybe put like 2 clips on there just to see, but we'll get these all stitched on. And then I've got 10 little goose legs and so many strings. So many threads, but how cute are those? You're supposed to stuff them first and then put the stitching down. I'm gonna use a stick and like shove some batting into his toes and it probably will be fine. I hope, because I've done it all and I'm not undoing it. So that is where we're at on the geese. I have bodies cut, beaks sewn. Yeah, those are supposed to be right side out. Beaks sewn, legs stitched. So I think these are going to be tonight's project because again, these I'm not working on in front of my kids. I have, the youngest is home with me right now, but she is back watching Mickey Mouse Clubhouse at the moment, and hopefully not listening to what I am saying, at least not closely enough to know what's going on, because she can't keep a secret. She cannot. So those are my works in progress. I've got, it feels like I've made no progress on these because I have been batch sewing them. So just every step takes so much longer when you're making 5 at once. I think if you were just making one at a time, these would zip right along, but making 5 takes a hot minute. But we've got those going, which leads us to acquisitions. If you watched last week's video, you know that I am working on a quilt for my grandma, and I thought I had everything situated, but I did not end up liking the lining I chose for the Santa coat applique. It just didn't go. I tried to use it. I did not like the colors. So this weekend I went out and I found this. So this is going to be Santa's coat outer. Santa's little outfit is in this fabric, and then the yellow is going to be the lining of the jacket on the applique, which I like so much better. This looks way, way, way better. It really brings out the gold in it, which I like because these both have gold print on them, and then you've got the nice gold kind of tone on this. Brings it out lovely. I needed to scrap a fabric for his face because apparently that's important. Santa needs a face. And then they have this as a remnant, which I'm going to use for like a deer or a bear or a squirrel or something. There's several animals appliqued on there that I hadn't bought fabric for. I have a bunch of scraps at my house that we're going to dig through this weekend, and I don't. I am not a neutrals girly, so I don't own a lot of browns and grays and things. More grays than browns. But I knew I didn't have a lot of brown and I wanted some, and then they had this for a reasonable price. So I grabbed this little remnant. And yeah, that is all of the acquisitions for this week. It's not all the shopping I did, but the other stuff is shipping to me. So next week we will have some more to share. More yarny goodness, knit picks. Thank you very much for being wonderful. I have placed 2 separate orders with knit picks within the last week and a half. But that should be it. We should be done. We should be done. Alrighty, I think that wraps it up for Craftmas Chronicles Week 2. Thank you so much for hanging out with me through this slight existential crisis when I realized just how much I have to do. But it's going to be fine. We're going to be fine. And next week, we'll be back for Week 3. And hopefully, if y'all cross your fingers for me, I will have at least 6 finished objects to share. That's the goal. We're going to finish these geese in this sweater and then roll into everything else. It'll be fine. Have a great weekend.